Fast forward, everyone was still in the closet then. And again, I equate this movement, it's a civil rights issue. It is our bodies, our choice, and we are all in this together. And now I equate it very similar to the LGBT movement, and this is a lifestyle, choose what we choose to do, whom we choose to love, how we choose to treat our bodies. So, well, I love you too. Thank you. But fast forward 10 years. My parents divorced when I was only 18 months old. I never had the opportunity to see my real parents in the same room. And one day in 2006, I got a call from my mom, whom I had not talked to in decades, because my stepdad wouldn't let me. My poor mom. I know she did the best that she could. Thank God he's dead now. But I got a call from my mom, and she says, "You're not going to believe what happened." I'm like, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, when you put me on classmates.com after your stepdad passed away?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Your real dad called me." And I'm like, "Get out of town." "My real dad?" She goes, "Yeah, and we're getting married again. After 40-something years, my parents are together again." So I was so excited. I'd been working really hard. I do have a tendency to be a workaholic. My work is everything to me. I've been married twice, divorced twice, swore I'd never get married again. I have 2 daughters that I love very much, and I dedicated my life just to my work. These rings are my commitment rings to myself and my girls. I'm a single parent, and I'm a proud single parent. But I got in my car, I had a Porsche at the time, put on a bikini, put the top down, drove straight through. I get to my mom's house, and she's like, I'm there, of course, I'm all excited. I'm like, "Hi! I've got a mom and dad now." I was super excited. And granted, I was tired. I drove straight through. And my mom answered the door, and she goes, "Oh, you don't look so good." I'm like, "Give me a break. It's been 4 days." She goes, Nope. I'm telling you, there's something about your skin doesn't look right." And she goes, "Your Uncle Ned just was diagnosed and died of pancreatic cancer in 3 weeks." My favorite uncle. So I went to the doctor at my mom's insistence, and literally the doctor came in, did a pelvic, did an ultrasound. We started with the OBGYN, because when you're a woman, that's what you got to do, get up in the stirrups. It's not pleasant. That's probably why I avoided it for so long. Well, it could be pleasant, but that's another story. So I knew that there was a problem when the doctor took my mom in the other room, and my mom came back crying. So what was supposed to be a happy reunion turned out to the beginning of my diagnosis of having cancer. Ovarian cancer is completely asymptomatic. I just thought I was depressed. I just thought I was stressed because I'm getting to meet my parents for the first time. I was told that I wouldn't live to my next birthday. I gathered my children. I had an emergency surgery. I had a radical hysterectomy. They took everything out, including part of my bladder, part of my colon. I ballooned up to over 210 pounds, and then I dropped down to 102 pounds. And when I went, I got transferred up to Columbus, started treatment. It was a number of surgeries, a number of chemo, a number of radiation. And then I gathered my children together because the end was coming, and they'd done all that they could. And I'd forgotten how lonely I was, because I was alone, and I'd lived in LA for a number of decades, and all my friends were gone. But my daughter came to see me. She brought my laptop. And I'd forgotten that I had signed up for the Match.com 6-month guarantee to find love before I left for Los Angeles. And a gentleman wrote to me that I'd gone to high school with. And he goes, "Oh my God, you look great." And I said, "Well, those pictures are a little old, and I don't look like that anymore." And I had to tell him, I'm dying. I'm dying. Hardest thing I ever had to tell somebody. So he started visiting me in the hospital, and the first day he came, true to my coupon queen fashion, I was clipping a coupon for my own cremation. I didn't want my kids to be burdened with that. And one of the biggest problems when you're terminally ill or chronically ill is you become very depressed because you feel like you're a burden to your families. And that's what's happening in Ohio and other states all across the country. There are people who are very, very seriously ill. So anyway, Fred started visiting me in the hospital. We agreed that instead of wasting my way in the hospital, he said, "You know what, girl? If you're going to die, you might as well go out with a smile on your face." And that was like music to my ears. His sister was growing CBD. How many people know what CBD is? CBD is an active ingredient in the cannabis plant that has been shown to cure cancer, to help with seizures and all that. And so I went out to the farm, and sure enough, he rolled one up for me. He took care of me. I laughed so hard. I'd never had so much fun in years and years and years, and it brought back that 1996 thing. I'm like, damn, I miss this stuff. You know, and I felt good again. So then, of course, I was all giggly, and I couldn't wait, and I was excited, and I got my laptop, so I'm going on there, doing what my mom says, going on the Google. And so I started looking up everything I could find about cancer and cannabis, and that's when I learned about Rick Simpson. That's when I saw Tanya Davis. That's when I saw a number of these top activists. And when you start reading the testimonials and the real-life stories about how cannabis has changed people's lives, you know, I sat my daughter down and I said, I want to do my own garden. I want to go back to California. I want to do my own garden. And what I have left as far as time, I want to leave a legacy behind. I want to come out of the closet. I want to educate people. I want them to understand that this plant can heal people. And I was one of the biggest skeptics ever. And it was me saying this. So I sat down with my girls, and their first concern was, Mom, you're in Ohio. You could go to jail for this. And I'm thinking, God, I'm sick. I don't want to go to jail. And said, that jail's not fun. So we decided to go to California, went to California, and then that's when I started telling my story on YouTube. And Normal came to me and asked me to start the Beverly Hills Normal chapter. And I started thinking about this, and I went back to my days at Bob Braun, and I started thinking about the whole Coupon Queen thing. And that's when I realized, you know what? This was all destiny. This was all meant to be, because all cannabis needed was a rebranding campaign, right? It needs a professional rebranding campaign. You know, because the media did not portray us the way I felt we, as modern cannabis consumers, specifically women, dynamic, remarkable, hardworking, honest, good women. And I started hearing about Pauline Sabin, and that year, my dear friend Tanya Davis won the Pauline Sabin Award. Who knows, by show of applause, who Pauline Sabin is? Do you really know who Pauline Sabin is? Because I will test you, I swear. Pauline Sabin was a woman of society who, back in the 1930s, got together a group of amazing women, just like these women right here, and she started having dinner parties and these ladies who lunch, and those are the women who led the overturn of alcohol prohibition. And when I met Tanya and I heard about this Pauline Sabin Award, I was thinking to myself, well, Tanya's from my home state. This girl gets more done from a wheelchair than hundreds of people I know do in their entire lifetimes. She's a true inspiration. And so I was looking at that and I thought, I'm going to start talking to my friends. So I put the word out to my best friend, Dory, who was a casting director for a show called Wilfred. And I let her know, I'm back in town. I've got my own marijuana garden up north. We're having fun. My daughter and I got 31 different strains. So we're like Baskin Robbins, 31 different flavors of pot, right? Which I thought was really cool because different strains work for different ailments, right? So we had it all. And then the phone rings, and it's David Zuckerman, who's the executive producer of Wilfred. And he calls me, he's like, oh, hey, this is Dory's brother. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, look, I heard you have cancer. Man, that's really a bummer. That sucks. But you know what? I heard you have a marijuana garden, and that's really cool. And he said, I'm doing this pilot. It's a show called Wilfred. It's starring Elijah Wood. I said, okay. And he says, I need those pot plants. He said, we're shooting the pilot. And I said, well, what's it about? And what do you need the pot plants for? And at that time, I had them in smart pots. So they were actually portable, right? Smart pots. And he says, look, this is about a pot-smoking dog. And in this particular scene, he goes in and he raids the neighbor's grow. So I put the plants in the pickup. I start driving down to Los Angeles. And I was able to go from being a sick and dying cancer patient to a living, healing marijuana expert for film and television. And not only that, they were paying me $500 an hour to tell them what to do. So I got my life back. And then I started, with our own garden, we had excess medicine. And then I started learning about people, again, who grew up like I did, who were poor. you know, and they needed medicine. So we started donating all of our excess medicine to veterans and to women in need who are single parents, some multiple sclerosis patients, some AIDS patients. And you know what? That karma, that healing, that knowing that you're helping people is healing in and of itself. So then I sat down with my daughter. I'm like, okay, we need to do a media campaign. We need to do a media campaign. This is a rebranding campaign. Okay, let's think great brands. Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, you know. And so we had this big press conference, and Cheech Marin was there, and we launched Beverly Hills Normal. And the reporters showed up, and I was so excited because in one way it was terrible because there were raids going down in LA. But for me, which was good, because we're all about getting the message out. And I was like, God, these raids are exactly what we need to stop. So all these reporters show up. The first reporter to interview me in my new position as spokesperson for this new brand, the guy comes to me and goes, so tell me your name again. What is it you do? And just, I've got live television. Come on. I said, well, we have a magazine. We have our own line of products that we're developing. I work in media. We have a reality series in development. He goes, oh, that's too much. Okay. You're the Martha Stewart of marijuana. Does that work for you? I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that works. Martha Stewart. Okay, she has her own talk show at the time. She had a deal with Kmart, so she had an endorsement. I said, yeah, that works for me. So the reporter starts, and he goes, okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the Martha Stewart of marijuana, and it's stuck. So that's how people know me now. So I called my friend Al Olson that I used to work with at the Today Show up in Seattle. I said, Al, listen. We need a rebranding campaign. He says, you know what, you've built the first brand in this industry. And I said, but we need to get it on the Today Show. Come on, you got to pitch it for me. He said, you know what, mainstream television will cover this young lady when hell freezes over. Well, you know what? 3 years later, this summer, hell froze over. And what I decided to do, I try to do as much activism work as I can, but I know media. And I have relationships with celebrities and producers, and I realize with a proper media campaign, we can reach millions of people because it's about the message, and it's about telling individual stories like these, and it's about moving people and touching their hearts and getting them to listen, because there's that old saying, never judge anyone until you walk a mile in their shoes. And I know for a fact that when you have a loved one who's dying or who's in pain, you will do anything to give them a better quality of life. And that's what it came down to. So you know what? What I started doing is my little video diaries, because we live in the age of YouTube and social media. And